Hope you're well. First question is about your history with Roland and Boss.
I imagine I probably started right when I started playing guitar, when I was about 13 or 14. And I had a DS1. I had then I slowly graduated to the Hyperfuzz,
Nice.
Silver Hyperfuzz. Some delay thrown in there, I'm sure. And then my first recording device, other than like recording on like a cassette player, was a BR8, which at the time ran off 100 megabyte, which is hilarious to say now, 100 megabyte zip disks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me into like multi-tracking and like, you know, all sorts of different things. Like I had the built-in, not really a drum machine, but I had that built-in click track, which was awesome that it could like, it was always reset when you would start play again. So you could always like start thinking about arrangements in a new way. And it was also kind of a click track if you wanted to put drums on it.
Yeah.
And it had the built-in line input for guitar. So it had an array of like Boss effects inside of it. So any pedal that I never bought, I essentially had on this BR8. I got really into like the slow gear pedal, and then just some of the distortions were in there, and then you could go in and change every little parameter, every effect, stereo delays, chorus, whatever. And that just really kind of, I got sucked into that machine for about 5.5, 6 years. That was the only machine I ever had until I bought a 16-track 1-inch tape machine in like 2007.
Sure.
So I kind of learned about all the basics, technically and like stylistically on the BR8, and I loved it. And I still have it because I still have the zip disks.
Right.
So I'll never throw that thing away. Like on the new record, that's on Under the Pressure. I started that with just a 707 and a Juno 60.
Yeah.
And then I brought it up one morning, and I did some guitar, but I had taken everything. All I heard one morning was the 707 and the Juno 60, and I was like, oh, I had all this other stuff on there, but I just didn't bring those faders up.
Right.
And it was such a haphazard way of hearing it, and then it kind of changed the whole way I heard the song.
Nice.
So that's kind of like what I miss about not having it in my house.
Yeah, sure.
But I think, next year I'll probably try and change that.
Right.
But I like to be surrounded by gear. I had a roommate who used to stockpile beer bottles in his bedroom. I would go into his room, I was like, why do you have all these beer bottles? He's like, I like to be surrounded by good memories. So I tend to do the same with keyboards and pedals and guitars and amps.
Yeah, sure. Adam, I want to ask you about the one record when you were a child that you heard that changed the way that you thought about music, from just hearing a track to something being a bit more transcendent.
Probably, even though it didn't necessarily at that age send me into any deep phase at the time, I probably would say Bowie's Heroes. Because I remember hearing that song when I was young, like right around when I was getting into music, and not really knowing anything about Bowie, but remembering that song and just thinking, maybe because the lyrics are so playful in some way, or not playful, but easy to remember. But then like the production is just so otherworldly. Myself, I don't necessarily always write stuff like 100% on like an acoustic or a piano.
Yeah.
Sometimes it starts with just a cool drum pattern on a drum machine.
Yeah.
And then 3 or 4 chords. And then you start to hear some melodies, and then you start,
Halfway
you hear
there.
more melodies, and it just kind of gradually gets there. And then you kind of maneuver between song and sound. I'm excited to start working on new stuff and to maybe get some new toys, Been kind of using a lot of the same things for a while. And then each record, I feel like I introduce something new. Like for this Lost in the Dream record, I bought a Roland 707, which before I had another Alesis drum machine that I used, or I had other ways of arriving at stuff, but 707 was like a kind of important way of even just building up a demo. And a Juno 60, so this time I don't know. There's a couple keyboards that I always wanted.
Well, we'll have to help you with some new toys.
Yeah.
We got a few.
Chain them all together.
Well, listen, thanks for talking to us
Yeah, you're
today, and I love the record.
Thank you.
It's really amazing, and good luck with the rest of the tour.
Thank you.